What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? It's Joey Womack, founder and CEO of Goodie Nation, and you are in for another treat. I got a special guest today talking about investing, particularly angel investing, and its importance in supporting diverse founders. Again, at Goodie Nation, we're focused on closing what we call the relationship gap, right? The relationship gap. Now, this is the lack of connection between entrepreneurs and those that are influential in the innovation space. And so what happens when this gap exists is that founders don't have access to the type of talent they need to hire. They don't have access to the type of customers they need to thrive. They don't have access to the type of advice they need, right? And then more importantly, they don't have access to the type of capital they need to do all the aforementioned things. Now, on the other side of the community, right, you have people in the innovation space and or people just outside that work in corporate America or the government or something like that, and they too experience this relationship gap. In particularly, they struggle with having access to people that invest at a higher level, at a more sophisticated level, and they miss out on opportunities to create generational wealth. So all those things considered, Goodie Nation is launching this new program in conjunction with a few other partners that I'll get into in a second called Equity Wings. It's a way to train professionals on the basics of angel investing. So expose them to the basics of the foundation of angel investing and then start to connect them to diverse founders. We're starting with a cohort here in Atlanta this year, focused on connecting these angel investors to Black founders. Right. And so I have with me today a special guest, Mr. Stewart, representing a number of different organizations and just overall just dope person. We also happen to share the same alma mater, but we ain't going to talk about that right now. So Dahavia, I want to kick it over to you for a quick intro.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Joey. Again, Dahavia Stewart. I am one of the founders of 1248 Angels. I co-founded it with a woman named Jewel Walker based out of Atlanta, which is an early stage angel syndicate. And then aside from that, I help lead the Black VC Atlanta chapter with Barry and Baisha at Collab Capital. One thing that I'm really passionate about is increasing access to the financial system for marginalized communities. And so that's my mission and my purpose in life. And I think we'll dive further into that later on in the call.
Nice. Good stuff. So let's go right into it. Let's go back, right? Let's go back. Before we talk about all the cool stuff in the present, let's go to the past. How did you get to where you are today? What is your origin story?
Yeah, it actually starts at FAMU, our alma mater. So I'm an HBC graduated from Florida A&M University. There I majored in accounting. That's ultimately how I got into the finance field. While I was navigating college, I accidentally stumbled upon venture capital. Someone shared a fellowship for HBC VC in which I signed up. There I was able to work with an early stage fund manager, Marlon Nichols, who's based out of Los Angeles. And one of the coolest things about his firm was that it was just an early stage venture firm that happened to invest a lot of capital into diverse founders. But from being exposed to that firm, I learned more about the disparities that minority founders face with venture capital and the challenges that that has in terms of like a company's ability to scale for M&A or even IPO potential. And so ultimately it became something that I am very passionate about. Since then, been working in the venture capital space for the past 4 years, and then started the Angel Syndicate last year with Jewel. One of the reasons I wanted to start that, it came from the work that we do at Black VC. There we have about 50 members who are like full-time venture capital investors. So one thing we continuously talked about was like, how do we get more LPs and angel investors involved? And so that was one of the reasons for starting the Angel Syndicate.
I love it. So I too was an accounting major at FAMU, and I too stumbled upon this startup space. It wasn't on the investing side. I started a company, Digital Guest List, back in the day, and I kept on doing it full time. So share a little bit of history. I don't know if I think Dr. Drummond may not have been around when you were there, but love the accounting courses at FAMU. Okay, so let's dig a little bit more into to your present work, right? You kind of alluded to a little bit of it. Let's start with 1248 Angels, right? So let's talk a little bit more about the current work. Maybe how you all look at deals, or how many you're doing, or any interesting investments you all have made, or just share a little bit more about your current work.
Yeah, thank you. So our mission is to help increase the number of diverse investors on cap tables. And we want to provide those investors with the best investment opportunities. So a few things that we look for is, one, emerging technology. So we seek startups that are leveraging cutting edge technology that can disrupt traditional markets and create innovative solutions. The second thing we look for is strong founder market fit. So having a very strong connection to the problem that they are solving, whether it came from their prior job or just a personal experience. And then we might be a little different from traditional angels, because one thing we're really afraid of is losing people's money, especially when it's their personal capital. So we're looking for startups that have demonstrated significant traction. So 2 of the deals we've done so far have been Series A deals. And then the last thing is really big ideas, because if people are going to invest their capital into like one of the most risky assets, if it works out, we do want them to be able to drive strong returns. And so we're looking for very big ideas that can transform whatever industries that they are working in. So 2 deals that we've done so far, well, taking a step back, we syndicate checks from 25K to 100K. And 2 of the deals we've done so far was one into a company called Backpack Healthcare. It's a solution focused on increasing mental health care access for children on Medicaid. We invested into their seed round in Q4 of last year. Since then, the company has been able to raise an up round of a Series A. So we feel very lucky there. And then another company we've done is a company called Upwardly. It's a B2B credit infrastructure solution. So it enables other fintechs to allow their end consumers to build credit from whatever transaction that they are doing on the platform. But that's a high level overview of our framework for investing in 2 of the deals that we've done so far.
I love it. I got a chance to talk with the founder of Backpack Healthcare earlier this year. Super impressive founder. Love what she's working on. As a matter of fact, I need to reach out and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about Black VC. So for those that are not familiar with Black VC as an organization, and obviously also the work you do in Atlanta, can you share a little bit more about the organization in general, and also a little bit more about the Atlanta chapter?
Yes. So Black VC is a nonprofit that was created to, one, increase the number of investors within venture capital, and then more than just increase the number, help retain the amount of Black investors that we do have in the field. And so across the nation, they have various chapters, one being the Black VC Atlanta chapter. Here we have about 50 members within our chapter, and throughout the year we do various types of events centered around community education and volunteering. And so far it's been great. Each year we hope to increase the number of members that we have in our chapter, in our ecosystem.
I love it. Cool. So let's talk about a little bit more about angel investing, right? Let's talk a little bit more about angel investing. So wanted to get your thoughts, particularly around why it's important for diverse founders, right? You kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but why in particular is it important for the ecosystem to create more angel investors to connect to diverse founders?
Yeah. So I think one thing that we have been talking about as a community in the past few years is the lack of access to early stage capital for minority founders, in particular the pre-seed stage. A lot of non-minority founders or Black founders, they typically may have like very wealthy families that they can go to for that early stage capital. But for Black and brown founders, there has tended to be like a gap there. And so being able to tap into angel investors is a great opportunity to fill that gap. But in particular, a lot of minority angel investors present a lot of opportunity, typically because we have a lot of people who are technically accredited investors, who may be professors, who may be like accountants and so forth, that are just not doing alternative investments. And so there is a large market of opportunity to tap into untapped networks in terms of like people who fit the profile, who just probably don't have the knowledge to actually invest. And then beyond not having the knowledge, they may not have the network either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know the network, the knowledge, even the awareness, I think is one of the biggest opportunities, right? I think back to people in my network, going back like years, like people when I say my network, like my generation, people I went to school with and knew from Atlanta, just in the general kind of, young professional scene and stuff like that. Like I would personally witness people, going to a nightclub, right, and then dropping $1,000-$2,000 on a table or some bottles and stuff like that, right? And you were like, I know you actually have the money, right?
Yeah.
You actually have the money. You just didn't know, like, that this is not the perfect scenario. But there's a line in a Nas song that says like the buck you used to buy a bottle, you could have struck the lotto with. So kind of in a similar vein, right? Right, the $1,000-$2,000 you spent on this table, you could have, this bottle of liquor, you could have invested in, the next big unicorn startup, $1 billion startup or something to that effect, right? Given you actually have connections to that startup. Also, you see people all the time traveling and posting pictures, international trips, when they're probably dropping $5,000 or so, right? That could be an angel check. And I understand people have to, enjoy themselves. The point I'm making here is that sometimes I think more of our community has the money, but, not saying you got to spend all of it on investment, but it's not, but consider some of it at least. Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about in particular, like Atlanta. What do you think, the opportunity to create more angel investors that invest in Black startups in Atlanta is? Not the nation, but Atlanta. Like, why is, and also maybe you have some thoughts on why Atlanta is important for Black founders in general.
Yeah. One, I think when I think about why it is important for Black founders in general, I can even just think about like why I live in Atlanta. Like for me, I grew up in a majority Black community. I went to a majority Black college. And so being in a city like Atlanta is very special when you consider like the history with civil rights or the history with music and those types of things. But then you can like move here and you can look around and you can see role models, like whether it's politicians or leaders like you, Joey, in the startup community. I think just having access to, or just being surrounded by very successful other Black people can just be very motivating. And it's just a great place to be in general. But then when it comes to why having more angel investors in Atlanta is important, I would say it's a variety of reasons. One thing that I've learned since being an investor is that sometimes you can have a great idea and also a great company, but the city that you are building it in and the amount of capital in that city can ultimately still determine the success of your company. And then when we think about markets like Atlanta, a lot of founders, sometimes they want to live in Atlanta just because it's a great city and it has great culture, but due to the lack of capital, they just tend to move to like New York or the Bay. And so I think those are some high level highlights of why we need access to capital. But then when we double tap into like how the venture capital ecosystem is in Atlanta, a lot of the firms here, just because there isn't a lot of capital, they tend to be more risk adverse and more later stage, really starting at the Series A. And so then it becomes very challenging for founders to even get to Series A because there's no pre-seed or seed capital. And I feel like angel investors can help fill that gap a little bit in terms of being a way to get that early stage capital for them. And then for Black founders in particular, I think it's important because although Atlanta is a majority Black city, the statistics also still exist here where less than 1% of capital is going to minority investors. And so in general, we need more angel investors investing into Black people in Atlanta, but also not just as angels, but ultimately Series A plus too. That's why I guess firms like Collab Capital are very important to our ecosystem.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I was talking to someone, and I'm just gonna keep him nameless, just for I don't know if he wants to be mentioned, but happy to say his name if he's cool with it. He was talking about doing something similar in Charlotte, and he'd done some market research, and he estimated like something like 4% of Black professionals in Charlotte qualify to become accredited investors, right? And so then I started thinking, well, I wonder what the number is for Atlanta, and I posed it to somebody. And I think, I actually know what it was. I didn't post it to somebody. Somebody responded on a LinkedIn post, and they said it's about 4% of Black professionals in Atlanta, right? But that's a large number of people. That's a large number. So I think the opportunity is there, but again, it's just one exposing people to what it is, to this, like you said, this alternative, asset class, expose them to the world of it, give them the basics, and then connecting them with founders. And I think, one, their eyes will be open, but two, these individuals typically come with their own network, particularly like in the industry or something like that, where they work in healthcare or the legal field, or they work at a big tech company or just a big company in general. And so not only can these individuals invest their financial capital, but they can also invest their social capital and their knowledge and stuff like that to support these founders, but also make their investments better, quite honestly. So let's talk about to switch gears a little bit, talk about the roles that relationships play in the ecosystems. And so maybe as an example, right? So you mentioned like Backpack Healthcare and a few others. It's one thing to know about, how to angel invest and stuff like that. But actually, how do you think about getting the deal? Like, are there any examples you can give in terms of how you got access to some of these startups to invest with in the first place?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's kind of crazy. I feel like we've done 2.5 deals we're working on right now. But I will say more founders have actually said no to us putting a deal together, which is good because I guess that means we're asking like founders who don't necessarily need our capital. But I found that the companies that we have gotten allocation in, we've had to show value before we've gotten that allocation. An example, Backpack Healthcare, I knew her for about a year before the angel deal. And I helped her learn how to like frame up her story, craft her pitch deck. And then I also introduced her to a few investors for a seed round, and one ended up being her lead investor. And so it indicated like that we could showcase a lot of value. And that's ultimately how we got allocation into that deal, and then was able to help increase access to the angel investors in our network to be able to invest alongside the great investors such as Rethink Education into that opportunity. And similar thing for the other deals that we have in our pipeline. And so I think that's what's been really interesting. It's hard to do that as an angel syndicate, to provide value, just because we're an angel syndicate versus a fund where you just have like dedicated staff and salaries and you can like really put a lot of effort into it. But that's how we got access to those deals. And then I guess the flip side to your question, one thing that angels do to help us is they help us with expertise in their network after they're in the deal to help us like further drive value. Because like you mentioned, a lot of the people who are able to invest into these deals are professionals and they have expertise in some field. And usually they skew towards angel investing into those fields that they have expertise in. So like in the Backpack deal, it was like a lot of healthcare professionals that invested. But due to like these angels and their expertise and their networks, some ways we've been able to provide value afterwards include like helping find someone's head of growth, which was really cool to be able to like provide that type of value, helping connect them to potential customers. Those have been like the top two ways we've been able to provide value from having these angels invest into the deal through a syndicate.
Nice. I love it. And so yeah, so that's one of the things that we'll be going over during the program, right? So this may be a thing. I don't think I've ever really heard it framed this way, but it makes sense. We as in the space of supporting startups, we talk about founder kind of market fit, right? Or founder problem fit, where the founder has deep expertise in the problem they're solving, the market they're going after. It just essentially makes it theoretically more likely that they will actually be successful because they know the ins and outs of the industry, right? And so same thing perhaps with angel investors, right? To your point, if you're looking to invest in a health tech startup, it makes sense to get angel investors that are in the health field because one, they know the ins and outs, they know what works, what doesn't, and they know people theoretically in the industry that could help out. And so when we think about if you're out there listening, you're a professional, think about your work experience, your lived experience, perhaps even think about some of the things you studied in school and stuff like that, because that can give you insight into making some of your investments, easier or a little bit more successful and stuff like that. And so, what we want to do, to your point around providing value with this program, is a free program. And one of the things we want people to do is make an investment by the end of the year, right? Make a small investment by the end of the year. If you're an accredited investor, get with a syndicate. If you're a non-accredited investor, we want you to go to a crowdfunding platform like a Republic, a Star Engine, so on and so forth, and make an investment. And we want you to make 3 introductions for at least one startup by the end of the year, right? Connect them to somebody potentially to hire, or somebody for another investment. Actually, the best thing would be to connect them potentially with a customer. Like, these are the things you think about when you're making an investment. You can leverage all the tools in your tool belt in order to, 1, make your investment more successful, and then 2, create a better and more equitable ecosystem for startups. So super excited for this conversation. I don't know if there's any other points, or anything you want to address, Dahavia, before we kind of close out and talk about, the program and stuff like that.
No, I don't think I have any other points, but I'm very excited about this program and the impact that it will have on the ecosystem.
Cool. Yeah, Dahavia helped us to craft the curriculum here. She'll be in the session. Super excited. So here's the deal, right? We have a few more days until the applications close for Equity Rings. This is a free 4-week program for those professionals in Atlanta that want to learn about the basics of angel investment. You don't have to be an accredited investor. You can be an unaccredited investor. You'll become part of the Goodie Nation community. We want to just activate you by the end of the year, making a small investment, maybe a few $1,000s and something like that, right? And so you just go to the link here at the bottom of the screen, goodienation.org/equitywings. You can apply. It doesn't take a long time to apply. You have until Sunday, August 25th to get those applications in, because we start next week. So it's going to be a really good cohort. We have some amazing applications so far. I'm just super excited to get this group of very talented and dope people together. So if you're dope, you want to learn about angel investing, and learn a little bit more about creating generational wealth and just the world of startups and stuff like that, and meet other dope people, this is the program for you. So get those applications in. We thank you for joining us. A quick thing before we go, Dahavia, is there a way for people to get in contact with you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it X or Twitter? I'm gonna stop saying X. I'm just gonna say Twitter. I don't know, right? Instagram. How might people see more about your work, or is it a website or anything like that?
Yep, LinkedIn would be the best platform. It's just my name, Dahavia Stewart. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Well, there it is, y'all. Well, Dahavia, thanks. This has been a great conversation. looking forward to building with you moving forward. And all those out there, please get your applications in and or forward this information to a friend. And we'll close out with a few things that we say here at Goodie Nation. 1, outwork yesterday. And then 2, stay magnetic, y'all.